the picture does have the carriage clock at 11:41, so this is where we got the 11:41. Hot cocoa, picture of Queen Victoria, cabinets. There's a man unconscious there. Turn to the number shown from the one marked H. One drawer marked H has been pulled open. Turn to 7. Half-finished word puzzle, which gives us Baskervilles. Baskervilles, we then turn to the V. Code wheel's yellow, so we turn to 99. Interesting that the room where we got into the where we first saw the carriage clock isn't the one where we were told the time on the carriage clock. That business with Sir Henry involved a note like the one we received tonight. Something about the Baskervilles. This is where we got our first key, saying to look once more at the note and look at all of the ones on the left, with the nick on the left. And we read the message on 52. Of course, I could just trial and error the bomb on the door, but that's cheating. We don't want to do that. Take the original letter out of your pocket, turn to 25. Underlined letters. Some of them are underlined, they spell out a number. Turn to the number you discovered, which is 48 from memory. The underlined ones are 48. 48 was not underlined. The Queen's Secret Service. No times given on this one. Take down the picture, turn to 96. Code of the foreman's hand. We did the wheel, we did the back agains. Output letter. Oh man, I don't want to. I guess I have to do it all again. Input letter X should reveal 6. Yes, okay. Turn it anti-clockwise 6 spaces. Turn it anti-clockwise 6, which is this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then turn it clockwise 1. Turn it anti-clockwise 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Turn it clockwise 3. 1, 2, 3. You're finally in position. Carefully note the output letter. Output letter is I. Turn the output so that it's the input. What colour is the wheel? Blue. Turn to 63. Thank you for being part of VLDL and amazing storytelling and fun you guys are having. You're amazing. Thank you very much, Doomslay. I'm glad you're enjoying it. What did I have to do? 63. The bomb will open the door, eh? It will. A cracked safe. We did it. We cracked the safe. 3 hours 24, 5 hours 48, 4 hours 24. The next one would be 6 hours 48, 6:15. 3:24. Add on 2 hours 48 to it. Then subtract an hour 48. If we're looking for a vending time pattern. I'm not sure what you're getting this from, Voter. You have got 3 hours 24. Where is the 3 hours 24 from? Is that the difference of the time that we've got currently? 11:51 to 2:15? Or are you putting them in? Are you putting them in ascending order and looking at the difference between the numbers or something? 2:15 to 7:03. No, that's 4 hours. 45, 48. 4 hours 48. Put them in ascending order. So you got 2:15 to 7:03. That's a difference of 4 hours 4 hours 48. So where's the 3 hours 24 come from? The difference from 7:03 to 9:27 is 24 and 2 hours 24. I think you're onto something here, that it's something to do with 24 minutes, because it's multiples of 24 and 48 popping up. Multiples of 12. We cracked the safe, 10 to 46. I don't want to do that puzzle, so we'll end it there, 46. Alright, let me look at the numbers again now that you're onto something about the difference between the times, the time from one to another. So if we arrange them in terms of, if it was 2:15 to 7:03 to 9:27 to 11:51, and 2:15 would go to so the one that we're missing is between 2:15 and 7:03, because the others are all equal numbers apart, aren't they? So 7:03 to 9:27 is 2 hours and 24 minutes. 9:27 to 11:51 is 2 hours and 24 minutes. And 2:15 to 7:03 is 4 hours and 48 minutes, which is exactly double what we need. So we need 2 hours 24 minutes, which is 04:39. 4:39 is the time that we need to put it to. 2:15 to 4:39 is 2 hours 24. 4:39 to 7:03 is 2 hours 24, yeah. And 2 hours 24, and 2 hours 24. Okay, cool. We got it. Thank you. We did it. Thank you, Vorteria, for the idea of the differences between them, and then Annie for working that shit out as well. 11:51 to 2:15 ends the 24 minutes too. So that's yeah. In mod 12 hours, it would also loop back around to the 2:15. We've got a time. We've worked it out. Page 86. Thankfully, that big dimwit slow guy, that Stoker, he's really slow. So he gave us plenty of time to work all of this out. Setting the hands. Set the clock hands to 12 o'clock sharp. Set the clock hands to 2:21. Set the clock hands to 3:22. Or set the clock hands to 4:39. I think we'll do 4:39, which we worked out without multiple choice. Turn to 30. I think we're about to escape, everybody, but I don't think we're done yet. I think when we escape, there'll be more puzzle to go. because we still haven't come across a puzzle that's anything to do with the Sumatran rat. You set the clock hands to the position and feel a tinge of disappointment when there's no chime or click to suggest anything has changed. Do you open the door? Yes, open the door, or no, go back and set the hands again. Yes, we're going to open the door, baby. Turn to 29, just the previous page, look. 29. Footprints. You jump out of the boiler house. You're free of the building! Watson follows 1 second later and heaves on the door to try and shut it, but its stiff hinges won't be rushed. What the deuce are you doing, Holmes? He demands when he sees you staring at the ground. He's in a hurry to get away from Moriarty's hoodlums, including that giant stoker, presumably. But you are stock still, examining the footprints out here in the light mud of the yard. It's hard to tell because there's only a dim lantern illuminating the ground, but you're looking to see if all the recent footprints here are accounted for. Are the prints here just those of the engineer's murderer, the giant stoker, and the watchman, or are there more of Moriarty's henchmen at large? We have these prints could be from only 3 pairs of boots, turn to 45, or there are at least 4 different pairs of footprints here, turn to 103. But wait, there's more. But first, I want to see what happens if we got it wrong. Does it just say you explode and die? 86. Setting the hands. Let's turn to any of them. 57. 57. The clock hands. You open the door, turn to 98. Ooh, I wonder if they all say that. 98. Turn to 53. No, it doesn't, so you can't game it. If you set the clock hands to 12 o'clock and try and open the door, it turns to 98. If you set it to something else, you open the door, it turns to 13. I kind of want to see what happens with all of them then. Do they all just say you explode? We'll go to 98 first. 98. A heavy door. Although you'd expected to fling the door open and jump through, a weight has been added to the outside and the hinges have stiffened so it won't be opened quickly. As you push on it, you see the wires and cogs of the contraption tug away at stoppers and tip up the flasks. "Get away from it!" cries Watson as he jumps clear. You follow suit, leaping back and away from it. The contraption explodes and sends debris and billowing smoke towards you. You're thrown onto the floor by the blast. Almost immediately, there's the impact of the door slamming shut again and the tinkle of fragments of glass and metal bouncing off the metal boilers. When everything's quiet, you hear the giant stoker begin to laugh. You and Watson both get to your feet and stagger back into the office. And then you wait to get captured. Is that just like copy-pasted? If you turned to 13, if you set it to a different wrong time? You'd expected to fling the door open and jump through it, but it won't open easily. It's been weighted to the side. Get away from it. You jump away. It explodes. When everything's quiet, it laughs. You go back to the office. Yeah, so I guess it's just copy-pasted, but into different areas, so you can't kind of metagame it. Very clever. Alright, so back to the footprints. That was a staggering explosion. Indeed it was. Close pattern, but enough to have Rob get it. We got it. We got it together. I was just not sure. Like, I was at the point where I was going, if I end up doing all of this analysis work on trying to understand these times and what the pattern is between them, and it turns out that I've copied down one of the numbers wrong, or that I should have had another number in here somewhere, or that like I've missed something, like I'll be pissed off that I've wasted all my time. So I was in the frame of mind of like, I'd rather go through, check that I'm actually working with the right thing. It's kind of like measure twice, cut once situation. I don't want to do the cutting, which is all of the work of analysing it, before I can be sure that I've measured twice, as it were. Get a flashlight out. You are now an ex-detective. This is an ex-parrot. Jesus loves you. Thank you, V the Night Gamer V. That's kind of you to say so. Alright. Shoes. These can be from only 3 pairs of shoes, or there are at least 4 prints of footprints here. So I guess back on goes the the double check. Boom! So you guys can see, maybe. And hopefully you can see some footprints here. Let me grow it really large so you guys can see a little bit better if there are different sets of footprints. So there's a right foot that's got 2 strikes, and there's a left foot that's got a hole in it. Then there's a very square fronted set of shoes. And then there's just a regular shoe there. This guy, if that's the same feet, then he's walking awfully close together, because that shoe's from a different set. I don't know if you can see any of this at all. This shoe's from a different set with like the clipped front, right? Boom, 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 boom. So this foot has got to have a right foot counterpart, which I guess he could have been standing in like first position, in like parallel. And then he would have taken a step forward on his left and then right, and then stood in parallel again, and then gone left all the way up here. Or he could have gone maybe the nick in the sole, maybe the nick in the ball, and the 2 nicks in the ball are opposites. But then why is he standing next? He's standing like with his feet like pressed against each other. What about over here? Is this easier to see? Can we see anything here? See a shiny dark page with smudges. What about that angle? Is that easier to see it for anybody? So we've got flat toe. We've got hole in the sole. We've got small shoe. And we've got nicks in the right foot. I'm not 100% sure here. We've got a right foot here, a right foot here, a right foot here that is different to a right foot here. Because we've got a small right foot that's rounded on the front, a small right foot that's square on the front, a small right foot that's got 2 nicks in the top, and then a large right foot that's got nothing wrong with it. So we've got at least 4 right feet. So yes, the answer's 4. We've got 4 sets of prints at least. All right. Minus the R and add an E, you've got 8 foot. Much better angle, but I think the gamma just isn't right for seeing dark on dark. Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so footprints. There are at least 4 different pairs of footprints here. Turn to 103, but as usual I want to see what the wrong answer was first. 45. Manhandled. Don't worry, Watson, you say encouragingly. I'm confident the biggest problem we have is the stoker who's the wrong side of that door. At the moment, the boiler house door flies off its hinges and the giant man strides through. He looks ready to treat you and Watson in the same manner as the door. You turn and run, straight into another of Moriarty's hoodlums, just as big and broad as the stoker. Perhaps you got your inferences from the footprints wrong. You curse yourself for a fool. You know your own methods. Why did you not apply them? The big men each pick you up from your respective necks and manhandle you back into that office. They slam the door and hear them laughing from the other side of it, and then you are out. So yeah, we got it right. There are at least 4 different footprints. 103. The only thing I've gotten wrong with the puzzles of this book so far is when I got timed out on one of them for got the right answer within a minute. And even then I only took your word for it that I was over a minute. You guys most likely were trolling me. Is that background knocking? Wraith trying to break down the door? No, it's an old Chinese technique of taking sulfur and mixing it with nitric acid, I think, and whatever else is in bat guano, and creating a black powder that's highly volatile, and then putting that with certain other chemicals like magnesium that burns with various colours, and then putting that inside of paper tubes and lighting them in a process known as fireworks. The yard. Be alert, Watson, you say. These footprints suggest there's at least one more hoodlum at large that we can account for than we can account for so far. Your prudence is rewarded when another hoodlum appears from beside a stack of barrels here in the yard. This one just as big and menacing as the giant stoker. You are not caught unawares. Mind you, you don't have a plan for dealing with him, other than to run into the coal tunnel that you hope might have been overlooked. You can get there at a stretch, but then so can the big man. You turn to the ever-resourceful Dr. Watson, who is pointing his service revolver directly at the hoodlum. No. No, he doesn't get to just appear with a service revolver now. He never had a gun. He didn't have a gun because at the start of the book, he said he did have a gun, and then he asked you, should I take it? And you said, we're doing a reconnaissance mission, not a something else. So you don't need your gun. Oh wait, it is I should read on. It does account for that. Pointing his service revolver directly at the hoodlum, now standing stock still and slowly raising his hands in the air. You feel obliged to comment on the sudden appearance of the firearm. Yes, I did. You are correct, Book. I did feel obliged to comment on that mistaken information. I didn't think you'd brought your revolver, Watson, you say. Well, he replies, I did. At that moment, the boiler house door flies off its hinges and the giant stoker steps through. You don't like the look of the manic grin playing on his lips. But Watson has bought you enough time to cross the short distance to the concealed entrance of the tunnel. Backing away from the hoodlums who follow a cautious distance away as Watson levels his gun at them. As the thugs come together, you wonder briefly if they might be twins. When you're close to the mouth of the tunnel, Watson lets loose a bullet. He aims at the ground between the two hoodlums to make them jump, which they do, albeit briefly, and you both turn and sprint into the black arch that offers perhaps a route to the river and escape. Escape through the coal tunnel, turn to 102. Oh, just the previous page. Easy. Rob pre-raged. I mean, the book baited me. The book knew that I, as Sherlock Holmes, would have felt obliged to comment on the sudden appearance of a firearm because I take note of details like Sherlock, and one of the details was we specifically asked should he bring his gun and said no. Coal tunnel. These days, coal for the beam engines is delivered by railway on the other side of the works, so this tunnel running to barges on the river is not in regular use. There are 2 iron rails here, one used to transport handcarts hauled by rope and pushed from behind, but the tunnel is neglected. There is debris and forgotten props and planks piled near the entrance. Water drips from the patches of moss that have managed to grow in some of the mortar cracks. It forms puddles along the rails and sleepers, rippling around piles of spilled or discarded coal. Mercifully, cables stretch along the tunnel walls and the lighting system is still operational. Sadly, the power only extends a little way into the tunnel, but beyond that the light fades and the remainder of the passage is in darkness. For now you make haste while you can see what's ahead of you. The lamps on the ceiling cast their reflections in the pools of water, and your keen eye detects the mirrored images of dancing men, ciphers that have been scratched into the rough rock in the ceiling of the coal tunnel. This is a fiendish cipher indeed, more suited to a carnival hall of mirrors, but it is not beyond the wit of Sherlock Holmes to break the code. We are looking for a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-letter number. Somebody start writing out what numbers are possibly 8 letters long, because we solved one of them and it was 4, and 4 is literally the only number in English that's written in 4 letters. The puzzle that was answer 12 we knew it was going to be 6 letters. So now we can do the same and kind of pre-game it and be like, it's a 8-letter word. So it's probably going to be one of the teens. Okay, so we have our 8 letters across the bottom here. At least we don't have to search the image to see where they're hidden. We've got these ones, but they are mirrored. I happen to remember that the jumpy guy is an E, which means this is going to be 18. Oh, it's not going to be 18 actually, because these aren't E's at the end here. So this is an E. There's no other E's in it. Or is this mirrored? Oh, it's mirrored as in like it's mirrored that way. It's that way up and it's mirrored. So it's not going to be an E. Okay. So this is what we're looking for. And it's going to have both of those on it. I don't remember any of these from the top of my head, but we have no repeated letters. Interesting. So it's a word, it's an 8-letter number that has no repeated letters. So it can't be one of the teens. Alright, so we're going to start with man with hand up to the left and leg bent to the left. Hand and leg on the left side, leg bent. There it is. J. Fucking J. Is it going to do the thing again? Let me work out J. J is E. So it ends in an E. 61. 61 could work. Or anything 1. 51, 60, yeah, 50 can't repeat. 61 could work. I think it's going to end in an E because the last letter, so it's this way up, and then it's so it's going to start with a whatever this letter is and end in that whatever that letter is, and that's a J, which translates to an E. This is going to be a whatever it is translates to a whatever it is. So it's the guy standing on his head. YMCA. So it's the this guy standing on his head, which is a T. So you'd think, it starts with a T, but it doesn't. It starts with what T translates to, which is S, which is going to be 61. So it starts with an S, ends in an E, and has to be 8 letters long. I think 61's the only one that'll fit that on it. And it has no repeated letters. If I want to double check, I guess we'll just look at the third one, which is left hand, right knee. Left hand, right knee. left hand, right knee. Left hand, right knee becomes U, and then U becomes X. Yeah. S something X with an E in the end. 6 D 2 61 66. Yeah, 61. It's got to be 61. All right. Save our time by checking all the others and turn to 61. Do 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 do. Boo. And it should be coming from 102 if we've got it right. From 102, yes. 70 also starts with an S and ends in an E. 70. A couple of apes. You run and stumble along the gloomy tunnel as fast as you dare. In the distance you can see the thinnest crack of light, almost impossibly far away, at the river end of the tunnel. Your feet are snagged and deflected by the uneven sleepers of what was once the hand-cart track. It's difficult progress, but grunts of pursuit echo from the mouth of the tunnel behind you, so you cannot afford to be careful. When you run, you trip and When you run, you trip and stagger. You end up scurrying forward in a stooped crouch like a couple of apes, hands extended. It's almost impossible to be as fast as you need to be, and when you're about halfway along the infernal tunnel, you stop to compose yourselves. Watson puts his revolver back into his jacket pocket. Why? You're being actively pursued by big thugs that want to hurt you, that they've shown the only thing that will stop them is your revolver. You pull out a tin of matches. You contemplate if the benefit is going to outweigh the risk. You may be able to progress faster if you can see the ground better ahead of you, but perhaps a little light will make you a pinpoint target for your enemies should any be armed with a gun. You opt for a middle way, just the flare of a struck match to see what's ahead, and then you'll blow it out. Strike the match, turn to 16. The Sumatran rat puzzle. Where have we heard of that before? The light flares up, and 100 eyes reflect the spark back at you. Rats. A lot of rats. Alright, calm down. They had been creeping out of the crevices and coming up through the drains, attracted by the unusual presence of people. Of course there are rats down here. Lean rats, plump rats, aggressive rats, timid rats, cunning rats, disease rats, sewer rats, all kind of London rats, rat salad, fried rat, ratted shrimp. You realize it must be inevitable to find seething colonies of them down here, nearer to the river, and that, of course, is where this tunnel leads. Watson is unperturbed by rats. His military experience has inured him to far worse afflictions than a mere rodent presence. But you were reminded of the especially unpleasant business you had with the giant rat of Sumatra, in capital letters. That case was troubling because it was almost paranormal in its resolution. You experience the tiniest shiver down your spine as you remember the adventure and its possible consequences. I do not know the giant rat of Sumatra, so I hope this puzzle does not rely on me having read that or knowing anything about it. Kind of like the Baskervilles did. You are, famously, a man who is not at the whim of irrational matters such as a superstitious fear of a monstrous rat. And yet, it is just possible that at this very moment, as you hear the blood racing in your ears, it stems not just from exertion as you hurry on your way, but from some remote hex cast by the begetter of that Sumatran rodent. Does its influence still haunt you? Question. Does every rat in the tunnel have an identical match? If you think every rat does have a twin, turn to 3. If you prefer to say that not all the rats are paired, turn to 80. If you prefer to say that not all rats are paired, turn to 80. So, does each of these rats have an identical twin? This is paired off. Is that the only one? This is paired off. This is paired off. So the red eyes are all paired off. The white eye is paired off, and the this white eye is paired off. The yellow eye is paired off as well. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. That's all of them. So every rat has an identical pair, unless there is a subtle difference between... Now I'm starting to do my double guess in the double bluff situation. Because on surface level it reads as though every rat has a pair. But if one of them subtly is different and it is not paired off, then getting it wrong is to say that yes, they have a pair. Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes? So this one and this one, are they paired off? Time to play Spot the Difference. Can you tell? You can't tell. This is all on me. They have the same number of fingers. They look to be the same. I'm going to say they're the same. Then this one and this one. They have the same number of fingies. They look to be identical to me. We'll do these two. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. They've got the same number of fingies. They look to be identical. Yes, I'll say so. These two next. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 2, 3. It seems to me they have the same number of fingies. They've got the same sort of patches. I'd say yes, they are identical. Then we've done Then we've got this guy, this pairing here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. They look to me to be identical. So now it's just the yellow eye ones. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so yes. If you think every rat you see has a twin, turn to 3. If you'd prefer to say that not all the rats are paired, turn to 80. I would prefer to say that because I got the clue that I should get this wrong on purpose. So I will turn to 3 to first see what the wrong answer, well, what the correct but inappropriate answer would be. Moriarty's hoodlums. The noise of your pursuers' heavy footfalls echoes down the tunnel. The uneven ground, treacherous with rails, debris, lumps of coal and pooled water, impedes your the hunters as well as the hunted. But the scurrying rats disrupt your concentration.
How many killers does Moriarty have at his disposal?
Pants Watson.
It's an interesting question, Watson, you reply, your hawk-like eyes darting about in search of rats. My irregulars have over the years gathered some very specific information about his operation, and I can tell you this. Moriarty teaches the hoodlums in his inner circle 4 distinct methods of killing: poisoning, marksmanship, strangulation, and knife work. Every hoodlum in his inner circle knows exactly 2 of those methods. That seems oddly specific,
gasps the doctor.
Moriarty is a professor of mathematics, Watson, so he cannot help himself. But it is that exact weakness that lets us calculate the number of hoodlums in his inner circle. Because, and this, my dear friend, is the key, it also ensures that whichever pair of methods you pick, there will be one, and only one, hoodlum who is trained in both of them. Watson stops and catches his breath and shakes his head. Holmes, could you just tell me roughly how many of these hoodlums he has?
If it's fewer than 7, turn to this. If it's more than 7, turn to that. That is a math puzzle that I am interested in working out, but I am not going to because we deliberately got it wrong. So I want to see what happens if we got it correctly wrong. If we gave the correct answer in the sense that it was the answer that we needed to give, and therefore it's the correct answer. A number of hoodlums. Noise echoes down. How many killers does he have? Oh, interesting. So it gives you the exact same copy-paste message either way. Oh, it doesn't. It's not the exact same. Noise of your pursuers' heavy footfalls echoes down the tunnel. Heavy footfalls. It doesn't say heavy footfalls for some reason. Maybe it was just a... No, because they've both got the same space on the page.
The uneven ground, treacherous with rails. The uneven and debris-strewn ground impedes the hunters as well as the hunted. Why would they have given slight, subtle differences like that? It's an interesting question, Watson, you reply. Exactly two of those. This is not the copy. It's not copy-pasted, it's rewritten. But it's written in just subtle description ways. There's just like odd things about it that just don't need to be different, but they are. I don't understand why. Alright, so how many hoodlums does he have in his inner circle? It's 4 choose 2. 4 choose 2 in mathematics means you've got 4 items, you want to choose 2 of them. How many ways are there to do that? It's called combinatorics. That's the branch of mathematics called combinatorics. It's easy with a small number like this to just calculate it by hand. You pick one of the 4 ways of killing, and then for that one, there are 3 possible pairs. And then that one's done. So now you consider there's just 3. So you pick one of those 3, and for each of those, there's 2 pairs. And so that one's done, so it's 4 plus 3. And then there's just 2 left, and there's just exactly one way to choose 2 things out of 2 things. And so it's 4 plus 3 plus 1, which is 8. So it's more than 7 people. He's got 8 hoodlums in his inner circle. If you want to do it with more numbers, though, if there's a thing on your calculator that's just like a C. It says NCR. NCR? That's a radio station. Is it NCR? There's a thing that's just got like a large capital C and a small NR or something, and that's the choose function. And you can do it on your calculator. But if you want to do it by hand, it's I forget what the actual equation is to do it long form. But the choose function is it includes factorials. It includes factorials and a division of the one factorial minus the other or something. So it's something where you take the number you're choosing away from the larger number before you find the factorial of that particular value or something. I can't remember. But 4 choose 2 is 8. There's 8 ways to choose 2 items from 4 things. So he has more than 7, turn to 77, but if you get it wrong, so it's 83 or 77. If you did the other one, if you got the rat puzzle correct when you shouldn't, you've got 2 different numbers. More than 7 turn to 77. Ooh, so either way you get more than 77. You turn to 77. Ooh. Could you tell me roughly how many of these hoodlums he has? Could you stop being so ineffably infuriating and tell me roughly how many of these hoodlums he has? So the correct answer from both turns you to 77, and you shouldn't get to do that because otherwise getting the Sumatra rat problem right or wrong won't have any difference. Which makes me think I've got this wrong, but I can't because he's got... Or did I do my maths wrong? When I was explaining it, I didn't actually think about what number I was saying. There are 3 ways to pair off the first guy. And then there are 2 more ways to pair off the second guy. So it's 3 plus 2. And then there's just 1 way to pair off the last guy, which is 6. So yeah, I explained. I slowed myself down to try and explain it, and by doing so, I forgot what number I'd said at the beginning of it, where I normally would have just gone brat 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 in my head and just done it all. Math mumbles for the win. That is one nearly 3-year-old asleep. Nice. So basically, if you get this one wrong, it turns you to the wrong number, which is 77. I want to just see what that says. Outnumbered. So no sooner have you confidently declared the number of trained killers at your enemy's disposal than a shot booms out from behind you. One of them's shooting into the tunnel. You hear the bullet ricochet off the brickwork as it speeds past you. You're already a long way down the tunnel, so it would have been improbably lucky shot to have hit you, but that's never been a reassurance to all those who have been struck by such luck. So you and Watson break into a shambling run. Stumbling, arms outstretched, you hurtle onwards until you hit the end. Thin, plain doors chained on the outside against vagabonds. Watson, slightly ahead of you, does not slow down. His final charge has a spirit of which his former regiment, not to mention rugby club, would have been proud. But the chains hold and he bounces back defeated. You turn to see your pursuers striding purposefully down the tunnel to get you. You are outnumbered by armed men. They bundle you both back up the tunnel. You are roughly marched back to the office where, seemingly to the amusement of the ruffians who are imprisoning you, you'll be obliged to wait until dawn. At least you've not been shot, and they let you keep your pipe. Wait in the office, turn to 67. So that is the wrong one. If you did the Sumatran puzzle correctly, because you didn't find the clue that says that you had to do it wrong, you would turn to 65. We would have finished this book ages ago if I wasn't a fucking completionist. No sooner had you confidently declared the number of train killers, blah blah blah, shot booms out. You're over 2/3 of the way along the tunnel. Slams into it. The doors fly apart, metalwork spring out of splintered wood. You see pre-dawn light reflecting off the river water below. Angry shouts echo down the tunnel behind you, together with one or two more shots. You run past the river, past the tied-up boats, scrambling up a flight of stairs. You're now on Kew Bridge. Only then do you pause to look behind. Your pursuers know they've been defeated. You see them standing by the broken tunnel doors by the river, looking up at you before slinking back into the hole. This sounds like you've escaped, though, so what? How is this the bad ending? 47. Thwarted. Fewer than 7. 83. So what we should get is this one. This is the ending we should have gotten by deliberately getting the Sumatran ending incorrect. No sooner have you confidently declared the number of train killers at your enemy's disposal than a shot booms out from behind you, one of them shooting into the tunnel. We read all that. Improbably lucky shot to hit you, but oh well, you keep running anyway. Thin doors chained on the outside. Watson slams into them. The doors fly apart, metalwork splintering out of the planks, and you see pre-dawn light reflecting off the river water below. Angry shouts echo down the tunnel behind you, together with one or two more shouts as you dart out of the mouth of the tunnel and turn abruptly left. You run along the river path and past tied-up boats. Scrambling up a flight of stone stairs, you're on Kew Bridge. Only then do you pause to look behind you. Your pursuers know they've been defeated. You see them standing by the broken tunnel doors of the river, looking up at you before slinking back into the hole. And finally, turn to 82. A Grateful London. What? Why is get the thing wrong? Having any 47. So if you did what you were told to by the clue, get it wrong on purpose, you end up with this ending, which seems like it's going to be a good ending. If you get the Sumatran puzzle right because you didn't realise the clue said to get it wrong, then you get the same sort of good ending, but a slight difference here. Sherlock Holmes rescues Governor, Sherlock Holmes saves the day. I'm so confused. Let's just do the ending that we're meant to get, and then I can go back and see what the subtle difference is that we wouldn't have gotten if we hadn't worked out the rat puzzle. You run out onto the road, and flagging down a hansom on Kew Bridge. I didn't realise that one's on Kew Bridge. You rush to Newgate Jail. The cab races between dark buildings, clattering through the streets as London tries to sleep. The wheels skitter on the stones as you skid to a halt outside the prison gates. There is another carriage, a 2-horse Clarence, standing by the gates with its driver sitting ready in its door swung open. A broad, necklace man with a bald head loiters beside it. You are not too late. Leaving Watson to pay for your hansom, you spring down and run towards the prison door. The door swings open before you have covered half the distance. A guard appears momentarily to survey the scene before a top-hatted gentleman with grey mutton-chop whiskers and silver-tipped cane steps confidently through. Behind him, in the dimly lit courtyard, you glimpse a prisoner being led by more guards. "Stop!" you cry. "That is not the governor!" There is a shout and a sudden report as a gun goes off right behind you. You spin around in time to see Watson wrestle the bald man by the clarence down to the ground as a snub-nosed pistol clatters away over the cobbles, the doctor having knocked his aim aside even as the shot was fired at you. The guards in the courtyard bundle the prisoner into a corner and quickly make him secure, while two more run out with cudgels drawn. The carriage driver slaps his reins and the carriage lurches off, its open door flapping. The guard pulls apart the two fighting men, Watson and the gunman, and hold them both even as the carriage disappears into the night. Another guard throws his weight against the prison door and it swings shut. You look down. At your feet is a silver-tipped cane and one half of a pair of fake mutton-chopped sideburns. You've stopped Sebastian Moran from being sprung from the jail, but the false governor, Moriarty, has disappeared. Jailbreak from Newgate. Governor kidnapped. Disguise. Subterfuge. Sherlock Holmes saves the day. World's greatest consulting detective arrives in nick of time. Dangerous criminal remains behind bars, while a grateful London celebrates. There were triumphant scenes at Newgate earlier this morning, as Inspector Lestrade of Scotland Yard foiled the plans of fiendish Professor James Moriarty, self-styled Napoleon of crime, and his homicidal henchman, Colonel Sebastian Moran. Our streets are safe once more, as the most powerful criminal web ever spun has been irretrievably ripped apart. The sun was only just rising when Lestrade and his men, alerted by the great consulting detective, the great mouse detective, Sherlock Holmes and his companion Dr. Watson, pounced. Moriarty, disguised as the jail governor Sidney Smith, had newly authorised the transfer of his dastardly co-fiend Moran, but just as both felons were clambering into their respective conveyances, Lestrade gave the order. Warders and constables swooped and swiftly prevented Moran's escape. Society may be safe from Moran for the time being. However, the mastermind himself escaped, tearing off his false whiskers and discarding his trick paunch. He fled the scene in a high-powered two-horse carriage. Some may wonder how Moriarty managed to slip the grasp of the law and the redoubtable Holmes quite so easily. Heroic Holmes. Although Dr. Watson, forever the soldier, helped subdue one of Moriarty's henchmen, Holmes stood by and allowed Lestrade to take the credit. "It was simply a matter for me," Holmes said modestly. "Moriarty has always had a fatal penchant for the blindingly obvious. I deduced his plan almost immediately, but to provide a false sense of security and to allow Lestrade the kudos of catching Moran red-handed, we let the game run its course. It was a most bracing exercise for brain and body." He laughed. Inspector Lestrade thanked Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson for their help and invaluable support. The murderous toff. Colonel Sebastian Moran, Eton, Oxford, and the first Bangalore pioneers, served with distinction in Afghan and Anglo-Indian wars, and as famed big-game hunter and prominent member of the Bagatelle Club. He is allegedly chief of staff to Professor Moriarty with special responsibility for overseeing security and undertaking heavy removals. The following afternoon turned to 92. Man, you dropped it. 47. 92. Oh, okay. I think the other thing is just that if we'd have done the other way, you run out and flag down a cab, wheels come skidding, blah blah blah. Holmes, do you know anything about all of this? Oh, okay. This is different, actually. The cab races between dark buildings, clattering through the streets as London tries to sleep. The wheels come skidding to a halt outside the prison, and you leap out into a group of people milling around the gate. Something is afoot. Among the crowd, you recognise Inspector Lestrade of the Yard. "Holmes," he says, and you see he looks almost flustered. "Do you know anything about all this?" "About what aspect of this exactly?" Lestrade rubs his face wearily. "The governor of the prison authorised me to authorise the sudden transfer of prisoner Sebastian Moran. You remember who he is, I'm sure. To another prison almost an hour ago. Except he wasn't really the governor, but someone impersonating him. You snap your fingers. Of course, we were too slow, Watson. You turned to Lestrade. It was Moriarty himself, my dear Inspector, who impersonated the governor, and he did so having trapped me inside the pumping station at Kew Bridge, from where we have just come. If you send your men there, you'll find Mr. Sidney Smith, the real governor, waiting to be unchained. I think we'll return to Baker Street now. It's been a long night. You hail another cab, this time in a manner more resigned than rushed. Watson sits silently beside you as you ride slowly through the streets of London, each of you contemplating the events of that evening. You did well to escape, but you were not in time to thwart Moriarty's execution of his plan. Moriarty, the Napoleon of crime, has beaten you because, despite another agent's attempt to guide you, you missed something along the way. You didn't quite follow everything perfectly, and imperfection is not good enough for Sherlock Holmes. The end. So, you missed something. So if you don't get the key, you don't get the good ending. Which, it's like... I don't think that's quite good enough. I feel like you... I don't like when Choose Your Own Adventure books change the course of the world and what is happening and when based on the choices you're making, when the choices you're making shouldn't affect the changes that have happened. That makes sense? You getting wrong the rat puzzle didn't change the timing of anything. You smashed out of the doors when you would have either way. You got into a cab, which you would have either way. You got to the prison, which you would have either way. So you should have gotten there at the same time either way. But in one you get there late, and the other you don't. I also am not there's a lot of this book that I am enjoying. It's great. I really like the idea of a Choose Your Own Adventure where you actually have to do puzzles to get to the next choice. But I don't like that the puzzles are sometimes integrated into the world and sometimes not. Like, what is the Sumatran... Like, the note you've been given is a thing that exists for Sherlock Holmes in the world. The clues you've been given to that note, like, look at the underlined letters and look at all of the letters with the nick in the left-hand side. Those have been given to you in-game, in-world. So Sherlock Holmes, not just the reader, but Sherlock Holmes has the clue to get the Sumatran rat puzzle wrong. But then the rat puzzle is a puzzle that only exists for us as the readers and not for Sherlock. And so it shouldn't have a bearing on whether he gets the right answer or not, like whether he gets the good ending or not. It feels inconsistent, like it's a world that doesn't follow its own law or logic. It feels like this book should set up whether the puzzles are just for the reader or for Sherlock, and then stick to that and not jump and flip-flop between them, because that's the thing that bothers me, I think. This was an odd one, not bad. We've had bad puzzle books. This is not a bad puzzle book. This is a good Choose Your Own Adventure book. I just feel like it was inconsistent with the puzzle situation. Would have been much harder to write and edit if all the puzzles had... Yeah, fucking suck it up. That's your job. Like, that's the level of detail I strive for and shit. Like, yeah, I put extra work on myself to do that, but I don't notice an issue like that and then go, but it's going to be hard to do it. Yeah, it's going to be hard to do it. Do it. It's worth doing. Make it right. Make it right. Make the choice that it's all of the puzzles are going to be in-world. And put the work in, like put the effort into to do that, and get stuck and go, fuck, this is really hard. This decision I've made for myself that all these puzzles have to make sense in world. Yeah, well, that's what's gonna set you apart as from great to fucking godly. Note to self: never make a Choose Your Own Adventure book for a DM. I'll do it and put the work in. My favourite was still the OG gargoyles. Those fucking gargoyles. God damn, repeating the same fucking gargoyles over and over and over again. Jailbreak from Newgate. Governor kidnapped. Disguise. Subterfuge. Sherlock Holmes rescues the governor. Escaped prisoners. Danger to public. World's greatest consulting detective comes close to thwarting masterful escape plan. Dramatic events unfolded at dawn this morning as the daring and dastardly plans of the criminal mastermind Professor James Moriarty were successfully enacted despite the best efforts of consulting detective Mr. Sherlock Holmes. Blah blah blah, blah blah blah. Allowed him to escape. Blah blah blah. Blee blah blah blah. Blee blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. All right, so we got the correct answer though. We got the good ending. Well done, everybody. 221B Baker Street. The next afternoon, Mrs. Hudson places the tray on the table between you. She's brought tea for you and your guests. Mr. Sidney Robert Smith, Governor of Newgate Jail, and his daughter Alice. The Governor has come here to thank you and Dr. Watson for precipitating his rescue the day before, and for having disrupted the attempted escape of Newgate inmate and Moriarty's henchman, Colonel Sebastian Moran. Mr. Smith shakes you warmly by the hand. "It is fortunate indeed that you figured it all out, Mr. Holmes," he says. He goes on to describe how he came to be kidnapped by men he now knows to have been Moriarty's lackeys, and used as bait to distract you from the real crime. Watson listens intently, but your mind wanders, because you've already inferred all of the important details from the events that have transpired. You look instead to his daughter, Alice, a quiet but alert young woman, widowed tragically young, as you had deduced before you met, and confirmed here by the entirely unscratched wedding band on her digitus quartus. Despite her silence, you know Alice to be sharp-witted, as evidenced by pencil marks on the back of a pocket-book she carries along with her parasol, jottings that you recognise as workings around the word denouement, which is the trickiest part of the word puzzle in this morning's editions of the Times. "I trust your baby is back in your safekeeping and is well," you say to the young woman, who nods gratefully in reply. Watson seems surprised that you knew she had a baby, but, unlike you, he is not remembering back to the unequal couple standing under the gaslight at the beginning of this whole affair, and the bundle being held by the hoodlum who was accompanying her. "And thank you for tampering with the note that Moriarty forced you to deliver to me." "I was so afeard for my baby, and my father," Alice replies shyly, "that I could not risk direct communication. I had to play my part, but I was confident that the great Sherlock Holmes would require only the subtlest of clues, so I was emboldened enough to dare communicate them to you in the form of a code, sir, despite the risk." It was you who delivered the torn note?" Watson asked her, catching up. He is the dearest of fellows, but incredibly slow sometimes, and he always goes to chivalrous pieces in the presence of the fairer sex. You lift your teacup to your lips and close your eyes, savouring the taste of Mrs. Hudson's excellent tea. The end. We did it! We found it, everybody. We found the correct ending. We did it. Puzzles, puzzles, puzzles. Love it. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. We only got one bad ending, and that was based on timing, which I'm going to, when I edit these for YouTube, going to fucking check. And if you guys had fucked with me and said that I failed it in less than a minute and I didn't, I'm going to stop telling stories, and it'll be on you. I'm going to retire, and you're never going to get another story from me, because that's the only thing I can actually threaten you with. So thanks for joining me for a Sherlock Holmes escape book. There are apparently at least 3 others in the series. Sherlock Holmes escape book, The Adventure of the British Museum. Sherlock Holmes escape book, The Adventure of the Analytical Engine. And Sherlock Holmes escape book, The Adventures of the Tower of London. So, if you see those anywhere in a shop, you might be like, oh, cool, let's get Rob one of them, if you enjoyed this. Well, thank you very much, everybody. It is past midnight, so I'm going to go to bed. Thanks for joining me for a Robert Reed's stream. Well, if you liked that Robert Reed's of this Sherlock Holmes book, you'll be pleased to hear I've actually been sent 2 more of them. And as of the time of recording this,
I'm actually in the middle of reading one of them on stream, so check me out on Twitch.